Hello everyone, I'm William the Storyteller, and I'm here to guide you into a peaceful rest tonight. Before we begin, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It really helps. Also, let me know in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is for you right now. It was already dark when I arrived at the inn, tucked away deep in the fog-laced mountains. The rain had begun hours ago, not with a downpour but a steady, cold drizzle that soaked everything with a chill that lingered in the bones. My car had long given up on the winding road that led here. I'd walked the last mile by foot, my flashlight flickering and my boots caked in wet earth. The forest whispered things I chose not to hear. When I finally saw the golden lanterns flickering against the wooden beams of the inn's porch, I could have wept from relief. The innkeeper was an elderly man with a voice like old paper. He didn't smile, but he didn't frown either. He simply watched me as I shivered in the entryway, steam rising from my clothes. His eyes were pale and clouded, but sharp, like he saw more than he let on. With a nod, he handed me a key, cold iron with a red thread tied around the loop. "Room 11, he said simply, pointing up the winding staircase. "Top of the hall. Try not to listen too closely." I didn't understand what he meant, but I was too tired to ask. The hallway upstairs was lined with faded portraits, each one watching with lifeless eyes as I passed. The carpet was worn but soft beneath my boots. My room was at the very end. Room 11. The key turned stiffly in the lock, as though the door hadn't been opened in a very long time. Inside, the room was simple. A bed with a heavy wool blanket. A chair beside the window. A fireplace that hadn't been used in years. But it was warm and it was dry, and that was enough. I lay down, fully clothed, and let the soft creaks of the old building and the distant rumble of thunder pull me closer to sleep. But just as I began to drift, I heard it. A whisper. At first, I thought it was the wind slipping through the wooden beams. But it had words. Faint, fragmented, barely there. "Leave before a moon." I sat up. My skin prickled. The room was quiet now, only the soft patter of rain against the window. Maybe I was dreaming already. I laid back down. But then it came again. A breath right by my ear this time. "Don't stay." I bolted upright, heart racing. There was no one in the room. I checked the closet, the window, under the bed. Nothing. Just shadows and old wood and silence. I thought of going back downstairs, asking for another room. But something in me said no, not out of courage, but something like guilt. As if I knew deep down that it wouldn't matter. Whatever this was, it wasn't tied to the room. It was tied to me being here. I left the lamp on and curled into the blanket. If something wanted to whisper, let it. I would not answer. Sleep came slowly, uneven, broken by the sound of rain and the occasional creak of footsteps in the hallway outside. But around midnight, the whispering returned. This time, it wasn't fragmented. It was a woman's voice. Soft, gentle, set. He buried me in the walls. My eyes opened slowly, dread sinking into my chest like a stone in a lake. "Behind the bed," she said. "Behind the wood." I looked at the wall. A knot in the wooden paneling pulsed in the dim light, almost like a heartbeat. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then something knocked. 3 gentle taps from behind the wall. Tap, tap, tap. No louder than someone asking to come in. I sat in the chair by the window until morning. When the sun rose, it barely pierced the fog, but it was enough to make me feel brave. I moved the bed, hands trembling. Behind it, the wooden panel had scratches, long and shallow. I touched them. They were old. Decades maybe. I pressed gently, and to my surprise, the panel creaked inward slightly, loose like a hidden door. I pulled it free. Behind it, darkness. A hollow space no bigger than a closet. Dust, cobwebs, and a small bundle of old, faded cloth. Wrapped in that cloth was a locket and a single bone. A woman's. Small. Fragile. I didn't scream. I couldn't. I felt nothing, just a stillness like time had stopped. When I went downstairs, the innkeeper was gone. The lobby was empty. The lanterns burned low. I left the locket on the front desk and walked out into the fog. The road was clearer that morning. I found my car untouched where I had left it. Started on the first try. I never looked back. Years later, I found the inn again in a book, Ghost Houses of the North. The chapter said it burned down in 1954. Lightning strike. No survivors. And room 11? They said no one had stayed there since the woman vanished. They searched but never found her. Until now. Sometimes when I close my eyes at night, I still hear her voice. But now, she whispers someone else's name.